My name is Tove. Welcome back to my channel, ToveLoveKnits, and podcast number 3. The sun is shining, there's spring in the air, and we have a lot of knitting to talk about. Let's get into it. Let's start with what I'm wearing, and can you see what I see? It's a finished object. I have finally finished my Midland cardigan by Laura Penrose of Penrose Knits. I'm gonna show it like that. This, as if you have followed along before, was quite the journey. I started this project the 25th of January, the day of the pattern release. I bought the yarn, which is Anel Malmedy, which is 100% wool yarn, in this gorgeous color of mustard yellow. And I was, when I first heard about this pattern like a year ago, I was instantly intrigued because it's a pattern that I've never seen before. It's a garter stitch pattern, and you knit it from the side to the side instead of the up and down or bottom to up. So I cast it on. I was quite obsessed with it, but then I ran out of yarn. I got through the whole body, all the button band, one sleeve, and then like, I don't know, 25% of the second sleeve, and I ran out of yarn. Then it laid for like maybe 2 weeks, and that's where I picked it up in the first podcast. I bought the yarn, I finished the cardigan, I blocked it, and it grew 3 sizes. But I loved the pattern and I loved the yarn so much that I started over. Originally, I knit this up in a size 5mm needle and the pattern size number 3. And I think if the blocking didn't happen, I would have been okay with it. It was quite oversized at that point, and I think I said it the first episode as well, like, yeah, it's quite a little bit oversized, but it's gonna be fine. Well, it became a tent. A small tent, but still a tent. So I started frogging it, and I started over. I went down in needle size to a 4mm needle. I went down in a size, so size number 2, and I made it shorter. I think it was, 10 stitches from the bottom. So I started over. It then of course went quite fast because it was a smaller size, shorter length. But when I got to, so I started and I did the front, and then I did the back, and then I realized, well, it's quite small. At that point, I added 10 rows in the back to get a little bit, wider. And then I continued. And I continued all the way, both sleeves, the rib, where I think I did maybe doubled what the pattern said, because at that point as well, it was short, but I didn't want it that short and I didn't want it that cropped. So I added a little bit of a wider rib, and then I got to the button band. And at that point, I have knitted this pattern basically twice, of course, back to back. I had lost all the will to live. All the excitement, all the energy was gone, and I knew this was gonna happen. I talked about it last podcast, and at this point I just needed it to be done. The pattern calls for a double knit button band. I knitted it once, it was fine. It was the first time I knitted it ever, the first version of this cardigan. And at this point I was like, fine, I know how to do it, did that, done that, I'm not doing it again. So I ended up doing a normal 1x1 rib, and then I finished it all off with an Italian bind off. And here it is. It is short, it's like a cropped. I wear it with high-waisted jeans. It is now the right size, I believe. Not oversized, could have been fine with a couple of more inches of ease, but it's really nice. I think for the summer it's good. It's like a little teeny tiny cardigan. I really like the shoulder details that moves all around, all the way to down the arm. And I like the garter stitch. I've never been a fan of garter stitch before, really. But yeah, here it is. And I can say, check, not ka-ching, but check. And I never have to do this pattern ever again. And yeah, there it is. My FO for the week. Now, moving on to whips. Let's start with my scrappy project, which is the jigsaw blanket by Stephen West. And I've showed it a couple of times now, so I will focus on the blocks that are new for the week. And I have live stitches. I'll try to, and there we go. So, as you can see, this is the Midland cardigan. That was last week. Then for this week's 2 weeks, I added a big green block. Thought that was really good as far as color story. I think this is a random ball of acrylic, maybe a blend, but mostly acrylic yarn, DK weight. 50 gram, I could do nothing with it, so I added it in the biggest block I had, which was in the end quite good. And then on top of that, it's a sock yarn, 25% nylon, 75% wool, from where, maybe Lung, I'm not really sure. It is a fingering weight yarn that I held double. The whole blanket is either fingering yarn held double or DK yarn held single. And I think that's a great way of getting rid of scraps from different yarn weights. This is leftover from socks that I knitted for my brother last year. So that's what's left for that. I realized there's quite a lot of blue in my blanket so far, but I'm hoping that the pop of pink and I have some really light pink white yarn as well, and that's going to be quite nice to fill in the gaps. What I realize now for this blanket is that we're making a triangle, so we're making the full bottom corner. So we're gonna continue on the top here with 2 or 3 blocks to make a point, and then I think we're gonna continue on bottom again. These are live wires, so I need to finish them up quite fast, otherwise I'm just gonna lose it all, I think. But 2 blocks for this 2 weeks, and for the stash busting journey I have, I only count finished objects, but I will also count finished blocks for my jigsaw puzzle. So with the finished object of Midland cardigan and the jigsaw puzzle, and that today it's not the last day of March, it's the 30th of March, it's a Sunday. I will consider the March done, and let's talk about stash down. This month I'm organizing myself with Knit California's Knit Journal. This month of March I started out with 18,675 grams of yarn. I bought 200 grams of yarn. I bought 2 balls of Drops Nord, 2 balls of Anel Malmedy, so this one. I finished then my Midland cardigan. That took 442 grams. a little bit then less, of course, than what the original cardigan did. Almost 100 grams less. So I do have 100 grams that's left over. And I guess that's then I'm gonna have to go back into the jigsaw cardigan again. And then the 2 blocks of the blanket was 120 grams as well, coming to a negative of 362 grams. And moving into April, I now have 18,313 grams of yarn. The Q1 total is 1,033 grams. So my confident goal of knitting negative 1,000 grams this year was clearly a very confident goal, because that we did within Q1. So that's great. My shy goal that I don't talk about, and I didn't tell anyone last week either, is 5,000 grams. This means that if I keep the rate going plus a little bit, I will get there. But yeah, so Q2 I really have to knit maybe 1,500 grams. Cool. We're doing good, I think. The reason why I did do this is because, well, I think it's fun, and I think it's good to have a goal and good to push myself to get rid of some stuff in my cabinet. But it's also fun to see my stash in a different way, and it makes me more creative in the use of it, and makes me see it and makes me appreciate what I have already. Doesn't mean that I don't buy new yarn. We'll talk about that in the end, because I'm going to yarn fair next week. But it makes me appreciate what I have. Great, good. That's my stash down total for March and Q1. Anything I finish, I'm not gonna finish something today or tomorrow, but if I do, then I'll count it on April's total. There you go. So next whip is the whip that probably got least amount of love for that last 2 weeks. It's my Riverside full color work sweater. Last week, by the Riverside by Asita Krebs. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I have then gone in and put my own twist in it to add the color work. And the color work is 1-on-1 stitch white, which is Drops Nord, and the other then color stitch is from my advent calendar 2024 from Vol Atelier here in Holland. All right, so last week, let me see, I was over here, so I knitted 15 centimeters maybe. The marker is a stitch marker that I made myself, actually. It's a very nice little Easter flower. There we go. Plans moving forward for this project is that I think I'm a little bit bored about the body. I will start adding some sleeves, I think, to see how that will go. The sleeves, so the body plan is more orange and purple, I think, and the sleeves are gonna go from green more to a blue, ending up with maybe a yellow and a neon, so we'll see how that goes. But this will now turn into a green and a blue sleeve. So next color theme is gonna be this green one. I think that's gonna be really nice, coming from a, yeah, what is that? Blue green as well. Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna put some work on this, I think, tonight, because I haven't, as I said, knitted it the whole week, I think, only last week. So that's gonna be fun. Long time ago I did color work. Next whip me see. Yeah, this is my favorite story from Kika, Veronica Lindberg. I think my favorite designer for sure. She is also from Finland. She's also Fin-Swede, as I am. So it's fun to see her YouTube video and to see her progress. This is my progress. Let's see, what's back now? This is the front. There we go, all the way there. I finished the body, at least the patterning of the body. Look at that, so pretty, so cute. So now I started on the ribbing. I'm gonna do 15 rows of rib, twisted rib, 1 by 1 twisted rib. So I have set up my row counter here with 15 rows, and then it's good to go. This pattern is from her second book, Knits to Wear. I remember the name now. I did 2 changes of the pattern. I have not made the bubbles. There's supposed to be bubbles in every little space here. I thought this was good enough. This was enough without the bubbles, and I also don't enjoy doing bubbles that much. And I did some extra stitches in the underarm. So the yarn that I'm using for this project is Yarn and Colors Joy. Here we go. This is a 25% wool, 25% acryl, 50% polyamide. It is the color 79. Lovely, lovely green. Love the yarn. I'm still really, really enjoying the knitting process of it. I've knitted the Salt Today sweater is also in this yarn in a different color, and I know that it won't grow. It will, well, when it comes to cables and stuff, it will bloom, it will open up, but it won't grow a lot. And I'm really happy with that. I tried it on this morning, and I'm really happy with the size and the length. So now I'm good to go with the rib. I am knitting the size number 2, which is S. I'm using a 4.5mm needle, and for the rib, 3.25mm needle. The pattern, the cables, has taken a while. I think I was at the first of 3 repeats last podcast when I said, well, I should do the second repeat. I did the 2 last repeats. The first repeat took me 1.5 weeks, and then I just sat down last evening, and I just did it. It's not to really be recommended. I didn't do it because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did it because I really wanted to be done with it. But also, of course, when I finished the Midland cardigan, it opened up quite a lot of time and space, and then I chose this as my main whip. But the problem with me and main whips is that then I get a little bit of a pressure to do it, which is good, then I get it done, but I also, it little bit loses its joy in it. But now I'm back on track, I think. The ribbing is gonna be quite quick, and then it's just the sleeves, and then that's of course smaller circumference and quicker job, and then it's done. Cables is, you know, cables is cables. It's not, it's requiring quite a lot to do cables, and it's just not knit. You can only really have one whip with cables at one time, and I think I'm gonna need a break after this project because it was quite big. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think I will be done by the next podcast. That's my goal. So this will probably be my next finished object. Good. Next. Last podcast I talked about this project. I hadn't started it yet. I talked about the gauge swatch and to start it up. And that's the Tolsta Tea by Creabea. Tolsta Tea with a little bit of a twist. I think it's one of the testers that made an eyelet version. And I really enjoyed that. Now, of course, coming into spring and summer, I wanted something that was still knitwear in a cotton wool with a little bit more air and breeze so you can actually wear it. I chose some stash yarn, and it was the Anel Miami, and this is 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. It is quite bouncy. It's been nice to knit with. Not at all like plasticky like polyamide or nylon can be, or acrylic. So I've enjoyed it so far. I've enjoyed it so much that I am halfway there, I think. So let's talk about it. I knit this up in size number 5, right? Yeah. So the pattern calls for a gauge of 17 stitches per 10 centimeters. And that for me, it creates this very open gauge, an open fabric. And I really didn't enjoy that with this type of yarn. It doesn't bloom, I think, and it doesn't fill in the stitches. So it really is quite weird, I would say. But so I chose to do a smaller needle. I chose to do 3.25 millimeter needles for this, and my gauge then came in at 21 stitches. So it really is like a fingering weight yarn. So I did the math and I needed to go up in a size 5. But with the gauge I have will then become, it will get me 108 centimeter bust circumference, and I think that I am spot on that. So you start with a rib. The pattern calls for normal 1x1 rib, and I chose to do twisted because I like the neatness of that more. Then I did then you do some German short rows for the back to raise the back, and then I followed the test knitter's way of doing this. So then she started straight away with the eyelets, which I did as well. You do a 4-row repeat. This is all in in her Ravelry notes, so I'm not giving up any secrets here. You do a 4-row repeat with a yarn over and 2 knit together all the way around through the raglan increases, and it's 6 repeats, and then you go back to stone-knit, and then 6 repeats, and then it's 3 blocks of eyelets. That's my plan at least, so hopefully that'll be a good length. So it's a raglan t-shirt, and it's quite basic, it's quite simple, it's not something that is exciting in any way, but I really enjoy Creabea's style of writing patterns. She doesn't give much more information than straightforward, this is what you're supposed to be doing. What she does, however, is she gives you a couple options of how to knit it differently, but she gives it in different PDFs. So once I have committed to a way of knitting or a style or the pattern, it's that pattern and nothing else. what I found in the style of, well, for example, Penrose Knits or Laura's pattern, is that she also gives us a lot of variations, which is great. I love the fact that the designers have thought about that we want to come up with different ways of variation in the pattern, and I think that's the whole point of knitting your own stuff, that you can put your own twist in it and find your own fit in the pattern. But what Laura does is that she puts it inside the pattern, all of it. So I got a little bit confused at one point. Should I knit this? Should I not knit this? There was a lot of text to read through until I got to my parts. But anyway, so what Rebecca does, is that she, at least with this pattern, she made different PDFs for different versions. And I like that, because then you can really go straight to the point, and yeah. And a basic pattern like this, you really just need the stitch count, you need the increases, you need the centimeters, and then basically that's it. So I enjoyed that. I have now finished the yoke. I finished the raglan increases. I joined together in the round. I did one full eyelet repeat under the arm, in the body, and then when the ball ended in a good place, I decided to pick up for the sleeves. So I knew sort of what kind of pattern I wanted for the sleeves. The test knitter sleeves, she did a full eyelet repeat also on the sleeves. I don't know if you can see, but I did then now half repeats. I did only 3 rows of eyelets, and then I went in for a, can you see that? Yeah, and then a twisted rib in the end. There you go, that you can see quite a lot better. It's sort of like a halfway down the arm t-shirt sleeve. Rebecca also have quite a lot of, no, well, she has a shorter sleeve in this pattern, so basically you knit a couple of rows and then you bind off, but I did a little bit longer, not as long as the test knit though. So now I probably will just, you know, pop out the second sleeve. This will literally take an hour, so that's no biggie. And then I will finish the body. Really enjoyed this pattern, this knit, and as you can see, I mean, yeah, it took no effort at all. It's also, when you have X amount of rows to do, you set up your row counter and you just go for it. I have a row counter per whip now because I make my own, which is really fun. This project has a little lily. Can you see that? The little leaf, super cute. The row counter and how I use it is that there's 10 rings on the chain, and that gives 10 rows basically. So if you have to knit 10 rows, you start in the end, and every row when you come back around, you pop the needle into the next ring, and that's how you count. If you need 25 rows or 35 rows or 40 rows, I tend to have a little stitch marker like so, and I place this into, this is now the second ring, meaning when I finish this whole 10 ring repeat, I will place this one on the last ring, and then I know I only have 10 left. So it's sort of like, this shows that I need to do 2 times of the chain, and then this shows which I am on the chain, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I learned this from Knit California as well, so if you wanna have a better explanation of how row counters work, talk to her. Go check her out, because yeah, I think it's a brilliant way of keeping track of your rows, and it's also such a, you can just turn off your mind and just knit. Specifically if you have a lot of rows in stockinette, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to stop and count every row or do a measuring tape or anything like that. You just set it up, you knit until you're done, and then after that you will go back into the pattern and see what's next. Brilliant, super. And yeah, I make my own now, so that's quite fun. That's my toaster tee, and this is a pattern that I definitely would see me knit again. You can do so many variations of this pattern, and I will definitely knit this again with different yarns probably. All right, those are my whips that I worked on the last 2 weeks. I will bring back the others hopefully now when the Midland cardigan is done and when I get other stuff done. But I'm quite happy with that. I don't necessarily have to knit on everything every week. So that's fun. Every finished object requires a new cast on, of course. And my new cast on, probably even tonight, are a pair of socks. I say in the beginning, at least, well, not this time, but I say in the beginning of the podcast that I'm from Finland. I live in the Netherlands with my husband and my 2 children. But I'm originally from Finland, and I haven't really spoken about where I'm from or what I'm doing here. But in Finland, we speak 2 languages, and I come from the region that speaks Swedish as a mother tongue, so I'm Finn-Swede. And I come from Österbottnia and from a small village called Vörå. Right now, no one has ever heard of Vörå before, but right now you might have heard of Vörå, who knows? Right now we are very famous because we have 3 guys from a comedy band, I guess they are, singing in dialect, in our dialect, coming from this part of Finland. They competed in the Swedish national Eurovision this past month, and they won. And this is like the biggest thing that ever happened to us in my village. So they won the national competition, Melodifestivalen in Sweden, and they're now going to compete in Switzerland for Sweden, singing in Swedish. So this is my way of my little way of giving support and giving putting the word out there. So go check them out. I love the song. It's about sauna, and of course that's very Finnish. The thing that I'm coming to my point now is that their color is green, and they have like a logo saying Kai. So the Kai is the name of the band. And right now everything is green and everything is Kai. There's been baking pastries and of course there's t-shirts and hats and all of that all around the internet. And also in the knitting community. So in the knitting community, there's on Instagram has now been a pattern of socks. So the Kai socks. So the hashtag Kai socks. That's what I'm gonna now use, of course. And they are, of course, green. The Kai's sort of color is green. So I will knit a pair of socks, and I will knit a pair of socks to my sister Nora. And they will be, well, dominantly green, but the toe, the heel, and the cuff will be gray. And also I will write Kai, at least on the foot, and then we'll see what we do on the leg, because I don't have much of this yarn. I think this is Sanne's Garn yarn. I'm not sure. It was in my stash. I think I got it from my mother. And this is a sock yarn from Grundel, Hot Socks. Very basic 75-25 sock yarn. So I will start from the toe and go up, because that's usually what I do with my socks. And I don't know why it's so unusual. Is that unusual? I don't know. So I will start from the toe knit that in gray, and I will move over to the green and I will write Kai. Now, I've seen how other people do it, and they write Kai on the front, on the top of this foot, and then they do some kind of pattern on the bottom to get the yarn going forward. I don't know if I should do that or not, and I think I will try intarsia actually, instead of doing some kind of pattern on the bottom of the foot. I've never done intarsia before, and that is a technique to, well, I'll talk about that when I figure it out, but that's gonna be my first intarsia project in the round. So I will try that, and I will do some Kai socks, I think, and I will give it to her. We're gonna meet up in Croatia in the end of April, so I will try to make them until then, or at least finish them up on the trip for her. She's also a big fan. We're all big fans of Kai. I mean, come on, it's the biggest thing that happened to us in a long while. She's gonna get a pair of socks. It was also her birthday last week. So yeah. Then the actual Eurovision Song Contest is in May, so that's gonna be perfect. So that is gonna be casted on. I use 2.25 millimeter needles on my socks, but I will go into that when I figured that out. Cool, great. What else? Nothing else. Next week, I will go with my friend Ichi to Breidagen here in Holland. So the knitting days. It's the biggest, I think it's the biggest Dutch yarn fair. Yeah, it's in Breda. Next weekend, we will go there on Saturday. If anyone see me that knows me, please come up, say hi. I would love to meet you. I would love to meet some more Dutchies that knit. It would be so cool. But we're gonna go there. We're gonna see. I have a list of things to buy for sure, and then we'll see how inspired I will become. So my stash down project total for next month is gonna probably be really bad. But yeah, that's gonna happen next week. And then I will maybe film some and definitely do a haul of some sort. And after that, a new podcast the week after. So yeah, I'm happy to end March in the way I did. And I'm excited about my project moving forward. I feel like I can start finishing things now and really focus on summer knitting and spring knitting. And knitting maybe something for the kids as well. I haven't knitted for them in a while, so that would be fun. All right. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you stayed this long, you are champions and gold stars for everyone. Please subscribe. I see the views and I'm really, really, really flattered, and it's really fun to see that people are watching me and my podcast, my tutorials, my shorts. I'm trying out a little bit how to do this, so that's fun to see. But please subscribe. Please give a like and comment all of the things that algorithm needs to push a small channel like mine. Let me know what you're working on and how you feel now when the summer weather is coming in, what you're gonna knit moving forward. Enjoy. See you next time. Bye.